snow fell thick and quiet, covering the land like it wanted to hide everything that lived there. At the edge of the snowfall area stood a small cabin, old and worn, with smoke barely rising from its roof. A young woman stepped out of a wagon, her boots sinking into the deep snow. Her mother followed slowly, weak and shaking. The air felt heavy, wrong. The girl held her breath, knowing this place was not a stop, but a turning point. For months, life had been slipping out of their hands. Her mother lay sick on a thin bed, coughing through long nights, her strength fading day by day. There was no money left, no food stored, and no one willing to help. Once winter closed the roads, the girl worked until her hands hurt, cleaning and sewing for others. But it was never enough. Cold nights grew longer, and hope grew smaller. What her mother decided next was not a choice. It was survival. Henry lived far from town, where snow covered the ground most of the year, and silence followed him like a shadow. His cabin was small, his clothes worn, his life simple and hard. People spoke of him in low voices, saying he was rough, strange, and not right in the head. They said he chose to live alone because no one could stand him. No family ever visited him. No laughter ever came from his home. To them, being sent to Henry was the worst fate she could face. That night, her mother finally spoke the truth. With shaking hands and tired eyes, she told her about the deal she had made. Henry would take her in as his wife. In return, her mother would get medicine, warmth, and a safe place to rest. The words hit like ice. The girl felt her chest tighten, her trust broken. She wanted to scream, to run, but there was nowhere to go. Love had nothing to do with this. She stepped into Henry's cabin as the door closed softly behind her. The room was cold, simple, and almost empty, with only a small table, a bed, and a weak fire trying to fight the chill. Henry stood near the wall, his face hard to read. He did not ask questions or give orders. He placed food on the table, laid out clean blankets, and pointed to where she could sleep. Then he turned away. The silence felt heavy. He was not cruel, not harsh, but she did not trust kindness that came without words. As the night grew colder, she waited for something she feared but did not want to name. It never came. Henry stopped at the doorway and spoke softly, telling her she was safe in his home. He said she owed him nothing. That night, he slept in the outer room, leaving her alone with the fire and the blankets. In the days that followed, he worked longer hours, bringing food and wood without complaint. He never raised his voice or crossed a line. When the world had taken her dignity, Henry was the one who gave it back. Days passed, then weeks. They began to share meals in quiet peace. Small talks filled the space between them. Simple words about weather, work, and long nights. Slowly, Henry spoke about his past, about loss, and why he chose to live alone. The snow outside no longer felt so cruel. The cabin grew warmer, not from the fire, but from trust. Where fear once lived, something gentle began to grow. One evening, she finally understood why Henry kept his distance. He lived alone, not because he hated people, but because he was afraid of hurting them with his pain. He had built a wall to protect everyone, and now she doesn't feel trapped anymore. She chose to stay with him, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. For the first time, she felt hope. Snow still fell outside, but it no longer felt cold or empty. The cabin had become home, filled with quiet laughter and shared work. People in town began to speak of Henry differently. Seeing the man they once feared, they realized they had been wrong about him. Sometimes the poorest man gives the richest heart.